Hi, this is Andy Collin with Growing Up Aspen. We're here with Chris Pomeroy, and today we are talking with Ed Dent. I got to know Ed in first days of Little League all the way through high school, and Ed's now a local doctor in the valley, and just the valley over in Eagle. So let's catch up with Ed and see what he's up to. Thanks. Outdoor ed, that was another thing that, I keep hearing them always talk about taking it away. And to this day, even the Marolts talk about that as their inspiration for, doing these crazy things that they've done, K2 and skiing all the 14ers and everything. And it's like, we saw the movie of the guy who skied Mount Everest and he basically skied maybe 200 feet and then fell the rest, And the Marolts are like, we can't do that. We got to ski the whole thing.
They took it to an incredible level for sure. But outdoor ed, I think, helped most all of us feel comfortable with what you got to stick in a backpack and what you shouldn't stick in there to go out there. And I've been able to introduce my kids to camping a little bit, and they've gone out on their own. And there's some really good wilderness around here as well. And kind of another factor of Eagle that's nice is it's a little bit off the beaten path. So some of the wilderness you can access here is you can kind of get lucky and sometimes not see another soul when you're out there. So
guys, I'm gonna go dark for a minute here.
I think
my dogs are going crazy. So.
There's a hut trip that goes to Vail to Aspen, and I think that probably goes past Eagle and stuff back behind there. And so that's kind of I know a lot of people who've done that, in the winters. You got to book it and stuff. But
Right. I haven't really done the huts, but I'm aware of them. There's sort of a Peter Eston hut that's nearby here, and I know you can really get a sense, even if you just go for a day hike around here, how close you are to Aspen as the crow flies. Right. You can kind of go, like Sylvan Lake is a little lake kind of up the road from us that's easy to access, but you can continue past the lake and pick up a trail called Mount Thomas. And if you hike up near the top of it, it's like you could reach out and touch Snowmass Peak from there. I mean, it's all so close. You can see Pyramid Peak and the Maroon Bed.
That's cool.
It really shows you how close it is. And another little connection with Aspen is that if you take this same route, you go past the lake, and the pass is called Crooked Creek Pass. As you come down into there's a place called Woods Lake Resort, which John Denver had part-owned club or something. And there's you can't, it's private, so it's sort of gated, but you can hike around the resort up to another little lake up there. And I just thought that was kind of a cool connection.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I feel like the thing that outdoor ed did was it gave you a feeling of the world is bigger than you are, and also about surviving things. I mean, of course, the solo was one night, but but you still got an idea of being out on your own.
Abbreviated hardship, but yeah, I think it also taught you about teamwork, because I know that teachers, sort of set up these groups so that, perhaps most groups had someone that might need a little encouragement or however you might want to put that. But I can remember David Levine and I were in the group with Ruth Harrison, and also Chris's brother Jimmy was in that group. And there was a guy in our group. I don't really want to
mention.
Call him out. Yeah,
it's fine.
But anyway, he just and this guy did fine, and I can remember David and I kind of encouraging him to get up to the top of the pass, in a positive way, which probably, normally in middle school, you're just sort of a punk kid, like I'm being mean to other kids or whatever. But this was an opportunity, like, hey, you're all out there in the woods together, and it behooves you to get to point B and get through your journey. So you want to kind of pull the team along with you. And I thought that was very memorable for me.
Yeah, and
I remember a story. It was a really good teamwork lesson. I think it might have been my brother's group. It may even be what you're referring to. But there was a kid whose parents were not very hip to the whole camping thing. And they had packed his pack, and they put food and things in there. There was like canned goods. There was one of those giant flashlights with the big old battery in it. And this kid's pack weighed probably more than 2 human beings combined, you know. So the group had to stop and literally divvy all that stuff out to everybody else as a team to be able to get it all where they needed to go.
So like,
I thought that was a good lesson.
He was given was like this sort of huge, heavy kind of like corduroy outer coat with fur inside of it that was just super heavy. That was sort of banging on his pack. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what he would say about it, but I think we all kind of made it a positive experience, and we all kind of pulled through, and he made it, which is to his credit. I mean, it wasn't his fault that his you know, I think we all maybe could have had similar experiences. When the first wilderness experience I ever had was going up to Conundrum and then hiking on to Crested Butte with the Hain family. So Julie and Josh joined my mother and I, and you know, we sort of felt like, okay, we're just out from Louisiana, and you know, I was of course whining the whole time about hiking 10 miles up to Conundrum, and we finally get there and we're unpacking our packs, and my mother and I are pulling out like 3 extra pairs of jeans, and like, what in the world are you guys?
Where? So I have to ask, where in Louisiana did you start out?
I'm from New Orleans.
New Orleans, okay.
And I was blessed to be able to return there for med school, so I went to Tulane.
Oh, cool.
And, it's a great city. It's a great place to train. I recently was able to go back there a few weeks ago and kind of celebrate my dear cousin's life that passed last summer. But just everything about that city is kind of special to me, and it's been through a lot with Katrina and things, but it really is a special place, and so
cool.
That's an interesting,
cool.
That's an interesting, you know, it's so funny. We all come from these different places to Aspen, and it's cool to see where we all came from and that we're tied there, but we're also have our hearts are still in the mountains there.
Right.
And I think that's because it is, I feel like even today, it's all new people from different places. So it's always kind of been that attraction, you know what I mean? And once you're there, it's hard to let go because there's a life there. And even the kids today, you know, it's like there's the soda fountain at Tom's or at Carl's pharmacy, you know, that went soon after we were there, you know, but this generation now doesn't have soda fountains or that kind of stuff, you know?
Right.
Popcorn wagon, remember that? I mean,
oh my God.
It was the late night popcorn wagon was a ritual for all of us kids growing up, you know?
I think we all felt so connected to those institutions and just things like selling the Aspen Times, because we pretty much, I'd say almost every kid that grew up there sold the Aspen Times. And you know, I had the opportunity to kind of through Kirk Ermish, he kind of helped me get a job at Little Cliffs.
And Bob, did you work with Bob Burson?
Yeah, Bob Burson was there. Those guys kind of paved the way. And, you know, I got to do it too. And those wonderful people, the Littles. And, just those kind of places that are kind of long gone. And I mean,
maybe we'd sell the papers. I remember the whole idea was to go out quick to sell your first round of papers so that you could get to Little Cliffs before they closed and you could get the 10-cent donuts, you know?
And the first person to the Jerome would sell all 10 or 20 or whatever and head right back down, you know?
Or Kid Hall was a popular one. You could get rid of like a whole stack of paper. And and then you'd go off to Little Cliffs and you might even go back to City Hall and get a Coke for 10 cents or something out of that.
Yeah.
And then you go over there and you'd be like, I want 3 glazed donuts and trolley car and and what else?
Yeah, that was oh my God, that was a good time. Yeah, well, Lo always says that the papers were the first thing that got him in it as a kid understanding business. You know, it was like his first real sense into the job world, where you were a little kid, grade school kid, and doing it. You know, whereas most people 12 years old don't even have a job.
It's an incubator for capitalism for sure. It was.
I think that a lot of us had the opportunity to kind of work in restaurants too, that I guess, I don't know, maybe it would be illegal or something, but I can kind of remember like lying to the guy about how old I was to work at RP's.
Yeah.
What a cool job that was, because everyone would come there and order a slice.
Yeah.
At RP's? Were you there when my brother worked there too?
What's that?
Were you there when Jim worked there too?
I think so. So. We were probably there at the same time.
Well, you were right across from Pinball Palace, which now, Barclay Dodge owns and is boss. But it was like, so you'd be at Pinball Palace and RP's, and there was this big load going between the two all the time.
It was the nerve center of the whole place, man.
Yeah. Oh, and then when women's softball would show up in the park, oh my God, that was ground central.
Oh yeah, that was just amazing. And then Jeff Griggs and I, and perhaps some others, eventually got jobs over at Pinocchio's, which of course is long gone.
Yeah.
I can remember like this guy we worked for, the manager, was kind of this sketchy guy.
Barney.
Nick was his name.
What was it? Nick.
I can't remember his name, but he's like, yeah, okay, we're going to start you out at $1.75 an hour. And if you want any food, you got to like fill out this ticket and pay for your shift meal. And we're like, oh yeah. So like we came up with like about, we might've paid for a couple of shift meals. So then we had all these green tickets with different things on the menu, which we would just recycle. That you just put the ticket up, for your sausage supreme sandwich for your shift meal. And one time Nick like tried to bust one of it. It might've been me or Jeff, I don't know who, but he's like, did you pay for the shift meal? And we're like, oh yeah. And goes marching up to the bartender and said, did these guys pay for this shift meal? And the bartender was like, oh yeah.
That's why Aspen was so cool.
Well, I'm trying to think when you worked there, because I worked for Pinocchio's for a long time, and I don't remember Nick. So it must have been before I was there. Yeah. I'm thinking.
Were you a Gant man too? Because I thought you were.
And where?
A Gant man?
No.
Did you drive the van?
I don't think I ever did that.
Okay.
I think my main jobs are sort of Little Cliffs, Pinocchio's. That seemed to be the main. I guess I was kind of a restaurant guy.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is, especially at a young age, is you learn about the waves, the rush hours. You know what I mean? And you prepare for it, and then it comes in, and then you got to go hurry up and get ready, and everybody's ready, and then when you're in the wave, there's it's just go, and everybody's just trying to get through the mess, and you learn how to deal with that kind of pressure.
Right.
Which I feel like a lot of people today have just saying something wrong drives them insane. Whereas you're like, God, you should have tried that rush when I was a kid, I mean, I feel like it's interesting.
I can remember, it's funny the things that stick in your head, but I can remember just being pummeled like on a school night, Wednesday or Thursday night. The restaurant had been so busy and I'm the dishwasher, and the stack of dishes was just insane. Like I'm sitting there going, wow, I'm going to be getting home at midnight. And this very nice person, she saw what I was dealing with and just started pitching in to get the job done. I can't even remember this person's name, but she just kind of, like an angel, blessing in disguise to help me plow through all this stuff. And then another funny story about Pinocchio's was just what you're saying, huge lunch rush. And you had to these big plates that they used to put the hamburgers on, they'd keep a stack of them above the grill. Okay. So you'd have to replenish these maybe about a dozen plates above the hamburger grill. And so I'm thinking, man, I'm going to get on top of this. I'm going to put like 20 plates up there. I have this stack of plates, and there's, a grill full of hamburgers, and this plate stack starts kind of getting a little wobbly, and I'm trying to get it up above the grill, and all of a sudden smash all the dishes on the grill, of course, ruining all the food, like major.
Oh God.
Wreck. But I'm sure they probably gave me a ration of shit as I deserved, but they like you said, you just kind of get through it, and you just cleaned up, and you didn't quit, you just kept going.
Yeah, well, I remember I got a job there for just a short period. I think Chris got me a job there once, and they kept his dishwasher, and I had to work with the chef, and the cook guy was, I won't mention names, but he definitely was a little rough around the edges.
Bernie,
probably
come on.
A few benders or whatever would happen, and I remember him taking plates that were brought in from the kitchen, throwing them in the oven even more to cook them even more, and then flinging them across the whole thing over into the tub area where it would hit the metal sink and then slide into the water and then splash me, And I was like, oh my gosh.
This connection is getting a little sketchy.
This guy is crazy. And I talked to them about it, and I felt like, it's real obvious this guy's got a problem, and he's probably tied to the family. And so the family's kind of keeping him up, afloat. So I ended up leaving.
I missed that. You were like you were working there.
So I was working there, and the chef, he basically would like extra burn stuff on. So the waiters would bring the plates in. He grabbed a few and would put them back in the burner and burn it till it was like charcoal, and then throw it across so it would land on the sink and slide hit the countertop and slide down into the sink and splash me. And he thought it was so funny, and I was like,
that was Bernie.
Yeah.
That guy's in hell, I'm sure, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he came up to me one time and put an egg in my shirt pocket, and I'm like, and then he goes, smash, just to be a dick, It's like,
I remember so you'd get promoted to like prep cook, and you're like, yeah. And so then you have to show up in the morning and make like this awful strawberry supreme cake or whatever it was, and stuff. But there was this guy that was, a young guy that was just doing like this, whatever, the summer bumming or whatever Aspen job. And he's one of the cooks there, and, and you're hanging out, and he kind of turned me on to good music. He's like, yeah, man, Allman Brothers. And like, you got to listen to their like blues, jams and all this stuff. And then there was some other guy that worked in the kitchen or something, and he was trying to tell us about this new Styx album he got. This guy was like the other guy leaves, and he's like, yeah, Styx, man, that's kind of a shit band.
Well, that's what was so interesting too about working as a kid, was that you got inoculated into all kinds of stuff. And I feel like when you don't, as a young kid, you don't do that, you don't learn how to speak to adults. You don't learn how to, there's a lot that happens when you're in a shift and you're working and having to do that stuff. And you're 12? We were working at pretty young ages. The papers we were selling way before 12,
I might need to.
Yeah. I was 12.
Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you, and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.